First question, my church is in the early stages of combining the finance and stewardship teams. What advice can you give to maximize buy-in and support of all the board members? So I'm thinking that that question has to do with you're pulling both the generosity and the management of the giving once you have it onto the same team. How do you build buy-in? We've got two coaches that do that all the time. Would one of you like to answer that question?
I'll take a stab at that, Joe. I would say that I think one of the important things, certainly if this is a brand new committee, if you will, or team, is to a certain degree what I would call create a charter. Why are we here? What are we seeking to accomplish? So that's kind of the first piece. And then there has to be some training and mentoring that recognizes, hey, you've been asked to be on this team because of this unique contribution, and everybody on the team is going to bring a different value proposition, a different contribution. And again, that just comes right out of Paul's writings of, as a complete body, we can't all be the hand. So we want to recognize the number crunchers versus the storytellers. We want to recognize the creative worship people versus the expositor, and the contribution to just that diversity on the team to bring that holistic stewardship, generosity, finance component into a nice blend. But it's not that everybody's going to be the same or think the same. Send those expectations up front and what we hope to accomplish together, and then allowing time for those personalities and giftedness to really marinate together is what will really help that team become a high capacity, high impact team.
One of the factors we didn't talk about today was entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs will serve on very large church boards and committees because it's principally the work's being done by the staff, and they're sharing their wisdom and knowledge. As the church size gets smaller, entrepreneurs, who are often some of your best givers, are less and less likely to serve on a long-term committee. It is just not in their makeup to want to do that. And one of the advantages to having a separate generosity team is there's so much action going on there that you can usually keep their attention. Another way to leverage them is if they won't serve on your team, identify sort of a blue ribbon team to solve a problem within the church, and let that report back to your finance team or another team in the church, and draw in an entrepreneur there. Second question, are outsourcing the finance positions like were described by Cape and Krause, do these people serve remotely or do they come on site?
So you'll find both. Primarily, we're now remote. There are times when we'll show up on site. So it depends on the client, the situation, and the needs. But we are able, by and large, to do good work remotely and have a workforce that's pretty well distributed throughout the USA.
We're finding at Horizons, when we're doing outsourced work, once you build a relationship with a client, more and more of our work is being requested to happen online, because it doesn't require volunteers and staff to come in, especially when you're mixing the two together. Horizons itself, we have a distributed team, so even our administrative team, the fractional people are off-site, but even some of our full-time people are scattered around the country, and we're taking advantage of technology to allow us to hire the very best person regardless of their location. There's a question from Rick about recommendations for accounting system that should be considered. And Rick, we don't know. Okay, now he goes on and says for a church 500 to 3,000 to 3 million, 3 million to 5 million, and 5 million to to 10 million. So it does matter the size of the church. I'll start out by saying that most smaller churches that are, say, 3 million and under, and I recognize 3 million is probably in the top 5 or 6% of churches. They are using a church management software with a built-in general ledger. More and more, some of those newer systems that are out there will allow plug-in of other kinds of accounting software. But that's the most common in the smaller churches. Most churches don't particularly like their church management software. Rock RMS is probably the one that's different from that, but you're required, while that software is free, you are required to have at least a fractional programmer to be able to support that. So it tends to be churches over $1 million that use that. As you get larger, what do you see larger churches that are able to program some of their own systems? What do you see them using as an accounting system?
So I won't rank them in order by size. I don't want the software makers to take exception with us, but I'll just give you maybe the 4 most popular names that I see coming through our book right now. It would be Sage Intacct, NetSuite, Blackbaud, Aplos, and they're all very different from one another. It's not cookie cutter. It takes a lot of discussion to peel those 4 apart, and most are only going to work in certain circumstances. So there's a lot of names and a lot of thought to go into that. But Joe, I'll just add those names to the mix as to what we see right now.
And some of that has to do with the ability to work with other software that you have. I do see churches that will run accounting software separate from their church management system. And those are the names that I see most often used. Blackbaud being primarily used with in the nonprofit world. But I think that's a good list. Well, it is now 2 o'clock. I want to thank you all for joining us. Latricia, if you could put up the slide that shows the Cape and Krause resource that we've been working from for the last of our 7 webinars. Stan and Dave, thank you for being with us today. Any closing remarks?
Well, Joe, indeed, it has been a privilege just to be a part of this series with you. Thank you for what you and your team at Horizon Stewardship do. It's just so much fun to work together in the kingdom, to work together with churches, and to see how God is using various churches and various communities to have great impact. And again, thank you for the opportunity to join you on these webinars over this past year.
Well, you're welcome. We are huge fans of Cape and Krause. They are most definitely a vetted ministry partner in the sense that we, without hesitation or reservation, recommend them for churches and nonprofits. I do want to say that there are a lot of resources out there, particularly in the accounting world, just like in the architectural world. If you're going to interview somebody, ask them what their church experience is. Tell those church clients you work with and talk to those church clients, because it really is a specialty. In the same way, if you're a nonprofit, you want to ask that question. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be doing more in the future.